see the perspective from your own viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to teach in the current paradigm, because the current paradigm says you automatically wrong, the system automatically right, and we got the police to beat you in the head and shoot you in the ass to prove it.
Mm.
We wear the uniforms and we write the paper. We got to be the right people.
Right.
So we assume because they uniformed and they got all of these stacks of papers, then they look important, they must be important motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All the time, they the frauds. And the real important one is that old man in the hood sitting there drinking his wine, watching the world go by because he ain't participating in these games. Because it don't make sense to him. Right? There's a song by Incognito called 100 and Rising.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl singing, she said, old man sitting in the shade, no longer wanting to participate in this charade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's sitting there drinking his lemonade, and it's 100 and rising. You're watching the temperature of the summer day go up, but she also watching the temperature of the people go up, spiritually speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Body temperature might not go up, but eventually you're going to get fed up with certain stuff. It just takes the strongest people longer to get fed up enough to do the right thing about it.
Facts.
Yep. Oppression is atmospheric. That means that you only going to stay as oppressed as you're willing to accept. Then you're going to break free because you're done with that crap. This is a chapter of misery, the epoch or the age of warfare. When you was giants, the warfare was fought mano a mano. When you modern size humans, you fight your wars with armies.
Right.
Right. So it's not reliant on one person having to be the strongest. If he can position the most soldiers in the best spots, he can win the war without striking a blow.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't been through everything. If you can think of it, we did it already. Because it's already in your memory bank.
Right.
Right. Now you can create something with the agency of art that's an abstract of something we're going to create in the future. Because you can see the future and the past at the same time when you're not in the body.
Right. We just talked about that.
Right. Only hindsight is 20/20 and the future is murky. So when you write it in the abstract, when you pass the phenomenon, you'll recognize it in symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
It's like driving down the street real fast and everything is a blur. Mm-hmm. But if you periodically take a picture, you say, I didn't even know I missed that. Mm-hmm. That's what the art is.
Deep.
So now you look back on the art and then you can see the spiritism in the art form that allow you to read the pulse of the people when they put it on the drum. Mm-hmm. You know, Hadith say Muhammad told his subjects to bring him the duffs. That's the drums. You got drums in Islam. You got drums in tribal culture of Africa. Drums in the tribal cultures of the Americas. Drums in the tribal cultures of Asia, in the plains of Asia. The Mongolian empires. You got drums in Europe. You got drums in Australia, drums on the islands, the Tongans and the Samoans, they all beating on the drum. Mm-hmm. Tribal stories relay a message on the drum. The echo can be picked up in the future and written as a new song. It's time travel without going there physically.
Right, right.
You send the message in the future on the beat. Next time the beat come up, the message come out. Mm-hmm. You thought that beat ain't never been heard before. You just ain't hear it in this lifetime. But whoever put the message on the track is the one who can see the message that was being delivered when it was made the first time. Mm-hmm. The one who can hear the track, that's the producer that make the beat. He can hear the echo of the past.
Mm.
right? It's a book called Echoes of the Old Dark Land,
Mm-hmm.
right? Talking about going back to the melanin center,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we always refer to it in modern times as going back to Africa. It's not Africa, it's Ethiopia or Ether Utopia.
Mm.
The spirit science of the nine ether liberates us from all lesser conscious gas forces. Automatically, when we understand how it works and what it does, we free.
You said
Garvey brought it to the mainland through the Rasta house,
mm-hmm.
right? The Rastas knew what it was, so they perpetuated and tied it back to Ethiopia through Haile Selassie.
Mm-hmm.
Ethiopia is tied to India because India used to be Eastern Ethiopia, right? And the people in the Ethiopia in Africa today is called the Afar.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to call people from the far eastern Ethiopia the Afar Inca, right? They was the people at a distance.
Mm-hmm.
Inca meant people.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to refer to ourselves as the Amur Inca. Not to be confused with Moor, because Moor is a catch term and is modern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So the Amur Inca meant the people who was under the rule of the Amaru Empire. Right? And the deity that was responsible for the Amaru Empire, which is a priesthood on the leopard clan, and the stealth priests is Black Panthers. And we call him Tupac Amaru. Right? So we see him today and we call him Tupac Shakur. Right? And then when we see DMX, that's Chief Zolo. When we see 50 Cent, that's Curtis Jackson. He's an ancient conjure man from New Orleans.
Yeah.
One of the coldest.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see 50 Cent, he come with something called the Big 50 flip. The Big 50 flip is giving the conjure key off of the fatherland that was hidden in the father house over to the motherland by giving it to Big 50. Big 50 in turn rallied the troops, the March of the Mayors, to flip 50 mayors. And they all come with a regiment. So in the war games, by positioning the divine feminine across the land and tying them to the capitals, right, it gave me 50 sisters to flip off of 50 niggas. And 50 Cent being Big 50.
Wow.
Guerrilla unit off a guerrilla clan.
Damn.
To a black gorilla family.
Yeah.
To a GD that's a pit bull.
Wow. You be making them connections, man.
It's in the psyche of the subconscious. I would mean that the shift is taking place already. We just seeing it. So we'll know about it from the stellar event before we see it play out in the physical reality.
Okay.
When you get the report that the stellar event has altered, it's telling you that there's an incoming alteration in what's going on the earth with the human people reenacting the movement of the stars. Right? So some of us are trailblazers, we comets, we burn through the land. You know, then some of us, we just lesser stars that follow the beaten path. Right? Until we build up enough momentum in our own orbit to become supernova.
Indeed.
Cycles of life.
Cycles of life, huh?
In fact, it'd be different for different people. Right? When you understand eclipsing energies, is one energy overtaking another energy. Right? And the symbolism is timed to the divine feminine reclaiming their power on earth from the less than divine masculine usurpers.
Mm-hmm.
The timing is synchronized, so it can mean a lot of stuff depending on your spiritual rank.
Okay.
The lesser your rank, the less it means. Then some people it ain't gonna mean shit. They just NPCs anyway. Right? But then some people it's gonna change the world for them. Their whole paradigm just shifts. Right? Old things that didn't serve them can fall off, and future things that's gonna be in their greatest good come online. It just depends on where you at in your development.
Somebody said, coming straight from a Maori elder, Hindu is not the only uninterrupted culture. Maori culture is also uninterrupted.
No, the Europeans interrupted it when they interrupted this one over here. The Europeans have it now. They still hold on to the aspects of their culture. Don't get me wrong, but the majority of them church people. That's interrupted like a motherfucker. They Catholic Christians, right? Then the ones who don't want to participate, their culture is not interrupted because they don't even live with the rest of the ones that has been usurped, have been deviated, told their culture was some kind of backward field jargon, some bullshit, and then this Christian shit is what's right. But some sizable portions of people there that's been Christianized and it's been dominating the society. When you go to India, they doing the same thing in 2023 that they was doing in 700 BC. The only difference is they got somebody that they call a head of state following the pattern of Europe, but all of the rest of their spiritual practices and all that stuff, they ain't never stopped doing that shit. And they still got the record of it.
Right.
But that's the most critical part to keeping it intact. Right? The Maori culture is old, but it's not as old as the Hindu culture. The Hindu culture wasn't always called Hindu. The Ayurvedic is an even older term for it. Right? But they got the text that's the foundational information for the Maori culture in their temples. All of these cultures, as elders was setting up cultures and living under their own vine and fig tree. And other people came later on and said, no, the way you living ain't how we think you should live. So you should change your lifestyle how I think you should live it. And most of us put up a hell of a fight, but they already knew when they come to bring over overwhelming force until they ran into that Gullah War that ended up becoming a Kanja War.
All right, let's get to the next question. Somebody wants to know, how can we look more into our totem animal?
Look, almost all your spirit information, you already know. You already know what your totem animal is. Research and investigate as much as you can about it. And the more you study it, the more you can tune into the frequency. Sometimes they just deliver you information in dreams in an abstract form because of how you process. And sometimes you can be so in tune with them that you can use their higher senses. When we talk about seeing with the eagle's eye, that's because that's his highest sense. You know, smell like a bloodhound. No, so all of these things with higher senses of an animal that we can utilize as a human.
Let's get to another question, Rod. Melissa wants to know, ask Rod to share who amongst the Anunnaki is responsible for destroying Apsu and Mother Tiamat?
When that happened, that was an accident. It was a miscalculation in the navigation system. Since then, that's been corrected. But it was that none of their names are known on Earth because they never came to Earth. But they were the ones that was the pilots responsible for navigating through this cluttered solar system. Right? They got more clutter that comes with them that make it more difficult to navigate without causing, meteor showers on every planet. Well, now they have something like galactic GPS, so to speak, where they can monitor where the Earth is. Wow. And they can run simulations. They keep running simulations until they get the orbit that they desire that causes the least amount of destruction. That was a strategy given to the Anunnaki by Tahuti. Right? Because they had the technology, but they had never thought to use it to plot their own course and steer would cause the least amount of damage. They didn't know that they could make that kind of, well, they knew they had the technology, but they just didn't ever make it. So now they made it and it's working, because you would have been seeing the Nibiru in the sky because it's big as hell. They've seen it already in different parts of the planet. But when it come all the way around, the orbit has been changed. It's not going to even be a third of the size it used to be in the sky. So you're going to see it. When you see it, it's going to be big as hell. And that's not even a third of the size that it used to be when you see it.
Wow.
Right? Because they changed the orbit. The orbit had to be adjusted because of especially the debris tail of Nibiru. We still getting iron oxide, but it's coming in patches. Before, it was coming in the whole storm, had a whole planet red. Now it's coming in patches. That's a good sign. That means they just out of the reach where the tailwind is not smothering us, so to speak. And it's minimizing the potential for the so-called doomsday. Because every time they used to come, the crust used to flip. But this time, only the core flipped. That means that they adjusted it just out of the reach of the planet enough where it won't cause the surface to flip, but it will cause the inner pole to flip. So before it flipped, it got to stop. That happened back in January. And when it picked back up and started rotating again, it's going to go the opposite direction. They reported that 6 days later. That's the reversal of the poles without the crust flipping this time. It's all part of the redemption process. The more we do what we're supposed to do, the more we get to divert all of the catastrophes. Oh, they call it near misses. Bad shit gonna happen, but worst case scenarios never occur. Right. So bad shit gonna happen, but worst case scenarios never occur. Because there's always a minimizing ritual you could play out to reduce the activity of the whole overall catastrophic event. Right? They could have did 9/11 to minimize nuclear holocaust. So it's been a ritual to lessen the destruction that causes a ripple in the people's emotions, sufficient enough to know that a catastrophic event took place. Now they don't have to do nuclear holocaust. But it depends on who gets the position to use it, the energy. The egregore, the accumulated thought forms of the most people. This is why you want them to believe in themselves, right? Because everything starts self-correcting for everybody. The more people believe in themselves, the less that the egregore is centralized in the hands of corrupted people. Right? So imagine that the universal mind is a blimp floating over all of the people. And everybody think that the pilot of the blimp is the best person for the job, and he the absolute worst because he can't even fly a blimp.
Yeah.
But we all focusing our energy to him, and he about to crash. And then all we have to do is realize he about to crash, disengage, and then we take control of the blimp. As a collective, we control it now. It's the same with the universal mind. We can control it if we get enough of us to believe in ourselves, Christ consciousness, collective consciousness. Raising our consciousness collectively at the same time to the position of I believe in me, because Big Mama said I was going to be everything I could be. And I believe what Big Mama said over what these people telling me. Disengage.